Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UE's Guardian, watching the stars through the big front window. He had been in space for 3 months now, and he still couldn't get used to how quiet everything was out here. No wind, no birds, just the soft hum of the ship's engines. "Commander, we're getting something strange on the scanners," said Lisa Grant from her station. She was the ship's science officer, and she looked worried. "There's some kind of energy reading about 2 miles ahead of us." Jake walked over to look at her screen. The numbers were jumping around like crazy. "What do you think it is?" "I don't know, sir. I've never seen anything like this before." Lisa's fingers moved quickly over her keyboard. "The energy levels are off the charts. It's like space itself is being torn apart." Captain Ben Torres came onto the bridge just as the ship started to shake. He was a big man with gray hair who had been flying ships longer than anyone else in the fleet. "What's happening out there?" Before Jake could answer, the space in front of them started to crack. It looked like someone was breaking a mirror, but the mirror was empty space. Blue and white light poured out of the cracks, and the ship's alarm started going off. "All hands, brace for impact." Torres shouted into his radio, but there was no impact. Instead, the cracks spread wider until they formed a circle about the size of a football field. Through the opening, they could see another star system. Different stars, different planets, all glowing with a strange red light. "That's impossible," Lisa whispered. "That's a wormhole. A real wormhole." Then they heard the voice dot. It came through their radio, but it was broken and full of static. The words were in English, but the accent was unlike anything Jake had ever heard. It sounded like someone was trying to talk with a mouth full of rocks. Double quotes. "Please. E1. Can anyone hear this?" The voice was desperate, scared. "Our world dies. Our children starve. The devourers come again." Lisa worked frantically at her station, trying to clean up the signal. "I'm getting more of the message, Commander. There's a lot more." The voice continued, sometimes clear, sometimes lost in static. "We are the Zentari Coalition. Our home is Kepler 442b. We opened this portal by accident. We don't know how to close it. The devourers have taken 3 of our worlds already. Billions are dead." Jake felt his blood run cold. The voice kept talking, painting a picture of horror. That made his stomach turn. An entire civilization was being destroyed by something called the Devourers, and they were calling for help. 7 worlds in our system, all with people like us. All going to die in 3 of your days if no one helps us. We tried to fight them. We tried everything. They adapt to everything we do. They learn from every attack." Captain Torres stood next. To Jake, his face serious. "Are you getting all of this, Grant?" "Yes, sir. The signal is getting stronger. I think I can clean it up more." Lisa's hands moved over her controls like she was playing a piano. "There, listen to this." The voice came through much clearer now. It belonged to someone who sounded female, though Jake couldn't be sure. "My name is Ambassador Kira Voss. I speak for the Zentari Coalition. We have been fighting the Devourers for 2 years. They are not like us. They are not alive like we understand life. They are machines, but they think. They learn. They take everything living and turn it into fuel for themselves." Jake looked at Torres. "Captain, what do we do?" "We listen first. Then we decide." Torres pressed a button on his chair. "This is Captain Ben Torres of the Earthship Guardian. We can hear you, Ambassador Voss. Tell us more about these Devourers." There was silence for a long moment. Then Kira's voice came back. And now she sounded like she was crying. You. You answered. Someone answered. "We have been calling for days. We thought we were alone." "You're not alone," Torres said gently. "Tell us what you need." "The Devourers came from the dark space between stars. They arrived in our system 2 years ago in ships the size of moons. At first, we thought they wanted to trade or talk, but they don't talk. They just take. They land on a world and start eating everything alive. Lisa was recording everything. Commander, I'm picking up visual data too. They're sending us pictures. The main screen filled with images that made Jake's hands shake. Planets that had been green and blue were now gray and dead. Cities that once held millions of people were empty shells. And moving through it all were the devourers. Things that looked like giant metal spiders, each one the size of a building. They adapt. Kira continued. We hit them with energy weapons, and they built shields. We used explosives, and they made their skin harder. We tried poison gas, and they filtered it out. Every weapon we used worked once, maybe twice. Then they changed, and it never worked again. How many people are we talking about? Torres asked. In our coalition? About 12 billion across 7 worlds. We saved as many as we could, but the devourers are fast. They work day and night. In 3 days, they will finish with our home world. Then they will move to the last 2 worlds that still have people on them. Jake felt sick. 12 billion people. It was hard to even imagine that many lives. There's more, Kira said. The wormhole is not stable. Our scientists say it will close in 2 days, maybe less. After that, you won't be able to reach us. And we won't be able to reach you. Torres looked around the bridge. Grant, what's your analysis? Lisa was pale. The energy reading suggests she's right. This wormhole is collapsing. And the amount of power it would take to keep it open. We don't have that kind of technology. Ambassador Voss, Torres said into his radio. What exactly are you asking? US to do? Save us, Kira said simply. We know you don't know us. We know we have no right to ask. But you're the first people to answer our call. Maybe you have weapons we don't. Maybe you can think of something we couldn't. Maybe you can do what we could not. Jake looked at the images on the screen. Children in alien faces, but children nonetheless. Families running from metal monsters. Cities burning under red skies. Sir, he said to Torres, we have to help them. Torres nodded slowly. Get me a direct line to Earth Command. Priority 1. Tell them we need to speak to the President right now. As Lisa worked to establish the connection, Jake stared at the wormhole. Somewhere on the other side, billions of innocent people were waiting to die. And somehow, Earth, humanity was their only hope. The sky had opened, and through it had come a cry for help that couldn't be ignored. President Carol Martinez sat in the White House Situation Room, staring at the screen that showed the alien wormhole. Around the table sat the most important people in Earth's government and military. Everyone looked tired and worried. Let me make sure I understand this correctly, she said to General Alex Cooper, who had just finished his report. We have less than 48 hours to save 12 billion alien lives using ships we've never tested in real combat. That's correct, Madam President, Cooper replied. His voice was steady, but his hands were shaking slightly. The Guardian has sent us all the data they collected. These devourers are unlike anything we've ever imagined. Dr. Samuel Carter, Earth's best scientist, stood up and pointed to a chart on the wall. The wormhole is definitely collapsing. My team has run the numbers 3 times. We have maybe 2 days before it closes forever. After that, there's no way to reach them. Admiral Rose Kelly leaned forward in her chair. Even if we could reach them, what exactly would we send? We have 3 ships. 3. The Zentari had hundreds of ships and they lost. President Martinez looked around the room. Dr. Carter, explain to me again how this wormhole works. Carter walked to the front of the room. The Zentari created it. By accident when they were trying to send a distress signal. They used some kind of quantum energy device that punched a hole through space itself. But the energy requirements are enormous. To keep it open, we would need to use half of Earth's power grid. And to send ships through? Martinez asked. That would use even more power. We could maybe send 3 ships through before we run out of energy. After that, the wormhole collapses and our ships would be trapped on the other side. The room was quiet for a long moment. Everyone was thinking the same thing. 3 ships against an enemy that had destroyed an entire civilization. General Cooper cleared his throat. Madam President, I have to be honest. This is a suicide mission. The odds of success are practically 0. But we're going to do it anyway, said a voice from the doorway. Everyone turned to see Captain Holly Newman walking into the room. She was the commander of the UES Defiant, and she looked determined. Captain Newman, Admiral Kelly said, you're supposed to be preparing your ship. My ship is ready, Admiral. So is my crew. We all volunteered. Holly looked directly at President Martinez. Madam President, 12 billion people are going to die if we don't try. Yes, it's dangerous. Yes, we might not come back, but we have to try. Martinez studied the young captain's face. Why? Why risk human lives for people we've never met? Because it's the right thing to do, Holly said simply. And because maybe we can do something the Zentari couldn't. Dr. Carter looked interested. What do you mean? Holly walked to the chart showing the Devourer ships. I've been studying the data from the Guardian. These Devourers adapt to every attack, right? They learn from every weapon used against them. That's correct, Carter said. But they learn from patterns. They study how the Zentari fight, and then they adapt. What if we don't fight like the Zentari? What if we fight like humans? General Cooper frowned. I don't understand. Holly smiled for the first time since entering the room. The Zentari are logical. They plan their attacks carefully. They use strategy and tactics that make sense. But humans ... we're crazy. We do things that don't make sense. We fight dirty. We improvise. Admiral Kelly was starting to look interested. You're talking about asymmetric warfare. Exactly. The Devourers have defeated every enemy by learning their patterns. But what if we don't have patterns? What if every attack is different, random, unpredictable? President Martinez leaned back in her chair. It's an interesting idea, but we still have the problem of numbers. 3 ships against hundreds of Devourer ships. Actually, Dr. Carter said, looking at his notes, the Zentari data shows that the Devourers only have about 50 ships left. They lost a lot of ships in the fighting. And they're spread out across 7 different worlds. Chief Engineer Paul Davis came into the room carrying a tablet. He looked excited. Sorry to interrupt, but I have news. Good news, I think. Go ahead, Davis, Martinez said. I've been working with the Zentari technical data. They sent us the plans for their shield technology. It's different from ours, but I think I can modify our ships to use it. It won't make US invincible, but it will give us a better chance. Holly nodded. How long do you need? 12 hours for each ship. I can work on all 3 at the same time if I get enough people to help me. Admiral Kelly stood up. I'll give you every engineer we have. President Martinez looked around the room. Let me ask you all something. If we do this, if we send our ships through that wormhole, what are the chances they come back? The room was quiet. Finally, General Cooper spoke. Honestly? Maybe 20%, and that's being optimistic. And if we don't do anything? 12 billion people die for certain. Holly said. Martinez closed her eyes in thought. She was about to make a decision that could doom humanity's first space fleet. But she was also about to make a decision that could save an entire civilization. Admiral Kelly, prepare the fleet. Dr. Carter, start preparing the power grid. We're going to need every bit of energy we can get. She looked at Holly. Captain Newman, you'll be in overall command of the mission. Holly saluted. Thank you, Madam President. We won't let you down. I know you won't, but I need you to understand something. If things go badly, if it looks like you can't win, I want you to come back. Don't sacrifice human lives unnecessarily. Understood, ma'am. As the meeting broke up, Martinez called Holly back. Captain, off the record, what do you really think our chances are? Holly was quiet for a moment. Honestly, I think we're going to surprise everyone, including ourselves. Humans are good at doing impossible things when we have to. I hope you're right. So do I, Madam President. So do I. Meanwhile, back on the Guardian, Jake Morrison was talking to Ambassador Kira Voss through the wormhole. Her voice was getting weaker as the Devourers got closer to her hiding place. Ambassador, help is coming, Jake said. Earth is sending ships. How many ships? Kira asked. Jake hesitated. 3 ships. There was silence on the other end. Then Kira laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. 3 ships? Against the Devourers? I know it doesn't sound like much, but trust me. Humans are ... different. We don't give up easily. I hope you're right, Jake Morrison. Because if you're not, this is the last conversation we'll ever have. Jake looked out at the wormhole, knowing that in a few hours, 3 human ships would pass through it into hell itself. But he also knew something that the Devourers didn't know yet. They were about to meet humanity for the first time. And humanity was about to show them what happened when you threatened innocent people. The countdown had begun. The 3 human ships came out of the wormhole like bullets fired from a gun. Captain Ben Torres felt his stomach drop as he saw what waited for them on the other side. The entire star system was painted red with the light of dying worlds. Holy hell, whispered Steve Rogers from his position at the weapons station. He was looking at his screen with wide eyes. Captain, you need to see this. Torres moved to look at the tactical display. What he saw made his blood run cold. The Devourer ships were nothing like the metal spiders they had seen in the Zentari pictures. These were massive geometric shapes that seemed to shift and change as he watched them. Each one was the size of a small city. How many? Torres asked. I count 47 ships, sir. And they're spread out across the system. Looks like they're finishing their work on the 3rd planet. Captain Holly Newman's voice came over the radio from the Defiant. All ships, this is Newman. Everyone seeing what I'm seeing? Confirmed, replied Captain Dan Mitchell from the horizon. These things are bigger than anything in our files. Torres opened a channel to all 3 ships. Listen up, everyone. We knew this wasn't going to be easy. The plan remains the same. We hit them fast, we hit them hard, and we don't let them adapt to our tactics. Lisa Grant was working frantically at her science station. Commander Morrison, I'm picking up energy. Readings from the 4th planet. It's massive. I think that's where the Zentari survivors are hiding. Jake Morrison looked at the readings. How many? Hard to tell, but it looks like maybe 1 million people. They're underground, probably in caves or bunkers. Torres made his decision. Newman, Mitchell, we're going to split up. You 2 take on the Devourer ships near the outer planets. I'll head for the 4th planet and try to protect the survivors. Copy that, Newman replied. And Torres? Remember what we talked about. No patterns. Keep them guessing. The Guardian turned toward the 4th planet while the other 2 ships spread out in different directions. As they got closer, Torres could see the Devourers at work. They had built some kind of drilling machines that were boring into the planet's surface. Red beams of energy were lifting chunks of rock and soil into the air, where they disappeared into the belly of the massive ships. They're eating the planet, Lisa said quietly. They're actually eating the whole planet. Not if we can help it. Torres replied. He turned to Steve Rogers. Rogers, I want you to fire everything we have at the closest Devourer ship. Missiles, lasers, railguns, everything. Sir, that goes against the plan. If we use everything at once, they'll adapt too. All our weapons. That's exactly what I want them to think we're going to do. Fire everything. The Guardian opened up with every weapon it had. Missiles streaked through space toward the nearest Devourer ship, followed by laser beams and metal slugs from the railguns. The attack was spectacular, lighting up the dark space. Around the planet, the Devourer ship's shields flared as the weapons hit. Some of the missiles got through, causing small explosions on the ship's surface. But even as Torres watched, the ship began to change. Its shields got stronger, its armor got thicker. "It's adapting," Rogers said. "Just like the Zentari said." "It would," Torres smiled. "Now give me just the railguns." Single shots, random timing. Rogers looked confused but followed orders. He fired the railguns one at a time, sometimes waiting 5 seconds between shots, sometimes waiting 30 seconds. The pattern made no sense. The Devourer ship's shields flickered. It was trying to adapt, but it couldn't figure out what to adapt to. The random timing confused its systems. "It's working," Lisa said excitedly. "The ship is having trouble adjusting to the random attacks." Meanwhile, the Defiant was having its own success. Captain Newman had ordered her crew to do something that violated every rule of space combat. They were flying in loops and spirals, sometimes firing forward, sometimes Mach forward, sometimes not firing at all. "Captain, this is crazy," said her weapons officer. "We're wasting ammunition." "No, we're not," Newman replied as she watched 3 Devourer ships trying to follow their movements. "We're confusing them. Look at their formation." The Devourer ships were trying to predict where the Defiant would go next, but they couldn't. Human tactics didn't make sense to them. They were used to fighting enemies who followed logical patterns. The Horizon was doing something even stranger. Captain Mitchell had ordered his crew to play music over the ship's external speakers while they fought. The sound waves meant nothing in space, but the Devourers were trying to analyze them anyway. Why are they playing music? One of the Devourer ships transmitted to another in their alien language. Unknown. Analyzing. No tactical advantage detected. Continue analysis. Must understand purpose. While the Devourer ships wasted time trying to figure out why humans were playing music during a battle, the Horizon was systematically destroying their communication arrays with precisely aimed shots. Back on the Guardian, Torres received a message from Ambassador Kira Voss. "Human ships, this is Kira. We can see you fighting from our hiding place. You're doing something impossible. The Devourers are acting confused." "That's the plan," Torres replied. "How long before they break through to your position?" "Maybe 2 hours. They're drilling faster now." "I think they know you're here." Torres looked at his tactical display. The Guardian had destroyed 2 Devourer ships, but there were still 5 more around the 4th planet. And more were coming from other parts of the system. Rogers' new plan. "I want you to fire our weapons in alphabetical order." "Sir, you heard." "Me, start with the L weapons, lasers. Then M for missiles. Then R for railguns. Alphabetical order." Rogers shook his head but followed orders. The attack made no military sense whatsoever, but it was working. The Devourer ships couldn't adapt to something that had no logical pattern. Engineer Paul Davis came onto the bridge with a huge smile on his face. "Captain, I've been monitoring the Devourer communications. They're completely confused. They keep trying to analyze our tactics, but they can't find any patterns." "That's because there are no patterns," Torres said. "We're just making it up as we go along." "The Zentari way of fighting was too predictable," Lisa added. "They used proper military tactics, but humans? We're willing to try anything." A new voice came over the radio. It was Captain Newman from the Defiant. "All ships, I'm getting reports from across the system. The Devourers are starting to retreat. They're pulling back from the planets they were attacking." Torres couldn't believe it. "They're retreating? Why?" "Because they can't figure us out." Newman replied, "They're used to fighting logical enemies. But we're not logical. We're human." On the fourth planet, the drilling stopped. The Devourer ships began to move away from the surface, their work unfinished. In the underground caves, 1,000,000 Zentari survivors began to cheer. Ambassador Kira's voice came over the radio, and she was crying. They're leaving. The Devourers are actually leaving our world. In 2,000 years of recorded history, no one has ever made them retreat. Torres looked out at the red-lit star system. The battle wasn't over yet, but for the first time since they had arrived, he thought they might actually win. All ships, regroup near the fourth planet. We're not done here yet. But we're doing something right. The 3 human ships came together. In space above the world they had just saved. And across the galaxy, other civilizations were watching in amazement as humanity fought its first interstellar war. The sky had opened, and through it had come chaos itself. The final battle began at dawn over Zentari Prime, the homeworld of Ambassador Kira Vos and 2 billion reptilian people. Captain Ben Torres watched from the Guardian's bridge as the largest Devourer ships formed a perfect circle around the planet. These weren't the smaller ships they had fought before. These were the command vessels, each one the size of a moon. "How many?" Torres asked Steve Rogers. 12 big ones, sir. And they're not moving randomly like the others did. These ships are different, smarter. Dr. Samuel Carter's voice came through the radio from Earth. The signal was weak because the wormhole was almost closed, but they could still hear him. "Captain Torres, we're reading massive energy spikes from those ships. I think they're the Devourer leaders." Captain Holly Newman spoke from the Defiant. "Torres, my sensors are showing something weird. These ships aren't trying to adapt to our tactics anymore. They're doing something else." "What do you mean?" Torres asked. "They're talking to each other. All 12 ships are connected somehow. They're sharing information faster than we can confuse them." Jake Morrison looked at his screens and felt his heart sink. "Captain, they're learning, not just from us, but from each other. Every time we try a new tactic, all 12 ships know about it instantly." Torres realized what was happening. The Devourers had figured out humanity's secret. They couldn't predict individual human actions, but if they worked together as one giant mind, they could adapt faster than humans could be unpredictable. "All ships, new plan," Torres said into his radio. "We're going to do the most human thing possible." "What's that?" asked Captain Dan Mitchell from the horizon. "We're going to split up and each do our own thing. No coordination, no communication, no plan, just chaos." "Sir, that's suicide," Steve Rogers said. "Without coordination, we'll be fighting 12 ships alone." "No," Torres smiled. "We'll be fighting 12 ships with 12 different kinds of chaos, and that's something they've never seen before." The 3 human ships spread out around Zentari Prime. Each captain made their own decisions about how to fight. There was no overall strategy, no shared plan. Just 3 humans doing what humans do best, improvising. The Guardian flew straight at the largest Devourer ship. Torres ordered every weapon fired at once, then immediately stopped all attacks and flew in a straight line for 30 seconds. Then he ordered the ship to spin like a top while firing randomly in all directions. Defiant began flying in patterns that spelled out words in English. Captain Newman had her crew write "hello" and "goodbye" and "surprise" with their flight path while shooting at different targets each time they changed direction. The horizon did something completely insane. Captain Mitchell ordered his ship to fly backwards while playing 3 different songs at the same time and firing weapons in rhythm with the music. The Devourer ships tried to share information about what the humans were doing, but there was too much information. Every second brought new data that made no sense. Their collective mind began to overload. "It's working," Lisa Grant shouted from her station. "The Devourer ships are slowing down. Their formation is breaking apart." Ambassador Kira's voice came through the radio from the planet below. "Human ships, we can see you from here. You're flying like you're all insane. But it's beautiful. You're dancing with death and making it look like art." Torres laughed. "We're not dancing, Ambassador. We're just being human." The turning point came when Dr. Samuel Carter made a discovery. He had been studying the battle data when he realized something important about how the Devourers thought. "All ships, this is Dr. Carter on Earth. I figured out their weakness. They think as one mind, but they need logic to connect their thoughts. Take away the logic, and their mind breaks apart." "What do you want us to do?" Torres asked. "Do something that's both completely logical and completely impossible at the same time. Confuse their basic understanding of reality." Jake Morrison had an idea. "Captain, what if we ram them? But at the last second, we teleport behind them." Torres stared at him. "That's the craziest thing I've ever heard. And it might just work." The Guardian turned toward the largest Devourer ship and flew straight at it at full speed. Every sensor on the Devourer ship watched the human vessel approach. Their computers calculated the impact point, the damage it would cause, the logical response. At the last possible second, Torres activated the Guardian's experimental teleportation drive. The ship disappeared from in front of the Devourer vessel and reappeared behind it, firing all weapons at point-blank range. The Devourer ship's mind simply stopped working. It couldn't process an attack that was both a suicide ram and a surprise. Attack from behind. The logical impossibility broke something fundamental in its thinking. "It worked," Rogers shouted. "The big ship is just floating there. It's not moving at all." The other Devourer ships tried to help their damaged leader, but the same thing was happening to them. The constant stream of illogical human actions was overwhelming their ability to think clearly. Captain Newman saw her chance. "All ships, they're vulnerable now. Hit them with everything we have, but keep it random." The three human ships attacked like wolves, never staying in one place long enough for the Devourers to target them effectively. They used every weapon they had in combinations that made no tactical sense, but somehow worked perfectly. One by one, the massive Devourer ships began to shut down. Their lights went out, their weapons stopped firing, and they began to drift in space like dead metal mountains. "This is impossible," one Devourer ship transmitted to another in their strange language. "How can chaos defeat order? How can madness defeat logic?" "Unknown," came the reply. "Analysis impossible. Retreat required." But it was too late to retreat. The remaining Devourer ships tried to flee the system, but they moved too slowly. The human ships chased them down one by one, using tactics that got stranger and more unpredictable with each battle. The last Devourer ship sent a message before it died. Not to the other Devourers, but to the galaxy itself. Warning to all civilizations. New species detected. Humans. They fight without logic. They win without reason. Do not engage. Repeat. Do not engage. When the battle was over, Torres looked out at the space around Zentari Prime. 12 massive Devourer ships floated dead in space, defeated by 3 small human vessels that had no business winning such an impossible fight. Ambassador Kira's voice came over the radio, and she was laughing and crying at the same time. "You did it. You actually did it. The Devourers are gone. All of them. Our worlds are safe." "Not just your worlds," Torres replied. "Every world in the galaxy is safer now. The Devourers won't be bothering anyone else." Captain Newman's voice joined the conversation. "Torres, I'm getting signals from all over the galaxy. Other species are asking who we are and where we came from. What should I tell them?" Torres asked. Jake Morrison answered before Torres could speak. "Tell them we're humans. Tell them we came from a small blue planet on the edge of the galaxy. And tell them we came because someone asked for help." The wormhole was closing now, but not before a message got through from Earth. President Carol Martinez's voice was clear and proud. "To all human ships, this is Earth. The whole world is watching. You've made us all proud. Come home, heroes. As the three ships prepared to return through the collapsing wormhole, Ambassador Kira sent one final message. To the humans of Earth, from all the peoples of the Zentari Coalition, you came to us when we were strangers. You risked everything to save people you had never met. You have shown the galaxy what true courage looks like. Torres looked back at Zentari Prime one last time. The planet was green and blue again, no longer painted red with the light of destruction. 2 billion people were safe because 3 human ships had decided to do the right thing. All ships, let's go home. Torres said that the Guardian, the Defiant, and the Horizon flew back through the wormhole just as it collapsed forever. They had opened the sky and shown the galaxy that sometimes salvation comes not from the wise or the powerful, but from those crazy enough to try the impossible. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, not as conquerors, but as protectors. And the cosmos would never be the same.